Do you know what comes after the first dance? Let me give you the deets. So in this third video of the 3 video series on your wedding reception, I am breaking down the structure of the evening reception. There's no more wondering what comes next, what time do people go home, how does it actually work, and when should you feed people dinner? We're going through it now. Come on, let's go. Okay, so let's start with structure. The structure of your evening reception is actually pretty simple. Your guests will leave the wedding breakfast and they will more than likely make their way to the bar, or they'll make their way through to the evening reception room, however you've got it laid out at your venue. If you're having evening guests, then they will arrive and everybody will join in the same room wherever that evening reception is being held. Shortly after everybody's made their way into the room, somebody will announce the cake cutting. It's usually about 30 minutes after everybody's made their way in. It can be anything up to about an hour. It's absolutely fine. It'll either be your toastmaster or even the DJ who will already be set up, who will announce the cake cutting. Straight after your cake cutting, you will go into the first dance. After the first dance, the father of the bride and the bride have a dance, and at that point sometimes you'll find that the groom and his mum will have a dance and a couple of the bridesmaids, and it usually doesn't go on too long because most people are embarrassed and they just start pulling everyone else onto the dance floor, and that's when the party really begins. If you have had a very early ceremony, say a 12 o'clock ceremony, and you've ended up eating a little bit earlier, you may want to class the beginning bit of your evening reception as a cocktail hour. Maybe your evening guests aren't coming till 7 p.m, but you've actually left the wedding breakfast at 6 p.m, for example. You might want to just have a cocktail hour. It's a little bit of downtime before everybody else starts coming in. It could be when you have those set drinks that are only out for an hour, particular cocktails, his and hers, whatever suits you. The final thing that you want to consider in the structure of your day is the evening food. People will start to get peckish again later on in the evening, and obviously you do need to feed your evening guests. Usually at that point it is more of a fast food style food, so whether you decide to go for a buffet, food truck, pizza oven, whether your caterers can make small bites that they hand round, for example banh mi, or they may want to do some hot dog, burgers, bacon in a bap, whatever it is that you decide fits your theme. There's some really cool food trucks out there now where people are doing Mexican food, they're doing Lebanese, they're doing curries, they're doing pizzas, so you can really let your imagination run wild. It obviously just depends on what your venue allows and whether they allow those external caterers to come in. So moving on from structure, let's just quickly talk about the time of your evening reception. So we touched just now on the fact that you would probably invite your evening guests from 7 p.m. Anything earlier, you're probably still going to be eating your wedding breakfast and you don't really want them hanging around on their own. Anything later, they're not going to be there for that long. So 7 p.m, 7:30 p.m. is typically a very good time for your evening guests to arrive. In terms of end time, that is down to your venue. So some venues actually have an 11 p.m. curfew where you'll need to arrange carriages. Others will finish at midnight, and some may have a late bar license and let you go on till 1 a.m. So usually it's between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. But again, it's completely down to your venue, so you do need to make sure that you've checked that with them. So let's talk personalisation in your evening reception. Perhaps you want to add something a little bit different. For example, having a s'mores station where you can create your own s'mores by putting some chocolates and crackers, some marshmallows over a fire pit. If your venue doesn't allow a fire pit, then perhaps you want to get some of the little burners that you can use, which are self-contained. We've done those for clients and they've worked really well. Another way is to have little blankets outside just to keep people warm in the smoking area or in the chillier month. You could also have a photo booth, a flower wall. There's now really cool companies like a boomerang company, as in boomerang the video, not a boomerang. You might want to create a quiet area for your older guests or just people that just aren't really into partying and dancing. You can create a really nice styled area with some fantastic sofas and some rugs. You can get some plants and flowers and really style it up to suit you. Have a think about your dessert table as well. So are you just going to have a cake and a dessert served with your meal, or are you going to have a dessert table? So maybe instead of one cake, you have a selection of cakes. Perhaps family members all make a cake and you display them. Perhaps your caterers can actually create a dessert station where they do lots of mini pots of desserts, puddings and cakes, and it is displayed in a manner of absolute beauty. Usually there's flowers adorning the station. There's sometimes hanging lights from there. They literally can go to town. So really have a think about what you want to do if you want to make it a little bit different. Don't forget to consider your gift table and your guest book. You might want to do something a little bit different. For example, we've had clients before have little boxes. There was obviously the trend with having a post box to post letters into. You can have some vintage wine bottles, and instead of a guest book, guests write a little note on a small piece of paper that you provide. They roll it up and they pop it into the bottle, and then you can open that on your first wedding anniversary and you can sit there and enjoy all the notes that your guests wrote after probably too many glasses of wine on your wedding anniversary. There's lots of other ways. You can also stick photos from your photo booth. If they're able to print them out immediately, they can stick them into a guest book and write a note for you there. So really have a think about what you want to do. And then there's obviously the music, which in my opinion is possibly one of the most important parts of the evening reception, if not the most important part of the evening reception. Now, you can do a number of things. You may want to have just a DJ, you may want to have just a band, you may want to have a band and a DJ. If you're going to do that, the usual protocol is to have a band first and then a DJ. But you might want the DJ to play in between the sets of the band. Obviously liaise with both if that's what you want to do, and see if they can work out a system that works with them, and make sure that it's actually spaced to have both set up and that it's easy to transition from one to the other. We may have mentioned it before, but again, just double check the maximum decibel that the venue has for music. So if there is a sound limiter, then you probably want to go for a DJ over a band, because a band will more than likely hit the sound limiter and all the power will shut off. So please, please, please do check that. It's a really, really important point. You don't want to be doing that. It will kill the vibe of your evening. No lights, no power. It will all go out. And finally, let's not forget your evening bar. Now, you may have decided to put some money behind the bar so that your guests don't have to pay for drinks. You may be paying the whole bar bill, or you might have told them that you would like to pay up to a certain amount, in which case the bar company or the caterers, whoever's running your bar, should let you know when you're coming to the limit of your spend, and then they will then open the bar up to guests so that they can pay for their own drinks. You may decide that you want to pay for all the wine for the evening, and then if guests want anything outside of that, they have to pay for it themselves. Or it may just be a paid bar, in which case everybody has to buy their own drinks. I think a lot of guests nowadays expect to buy their own drinks in the evening, but there are different options. Again, check any corkage fees and just weigh up the options and see what works best for you. So there you have it. Pretty simple. You've got your structure of the day, you've got ideas to add personalisation into the evening section of your wedding, and hopefully you're now good to go. You're nearly there. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, comment below and let me know how the planning of your evening reception is going, and if you found this 3-part series helpful. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week for another video. Shining. Shining. Where are you going? Okay, here we go. Very nice. Whatever fits